Stars, lover of all things iconic, and welcome back to another episode of the Creative, where we kick all shit about all things dealing with the creative process and how you, me, and we bring our imaginations to life. I'm back in the stew, okay? I'm so excited to be back in the stew. Like, it just feels so good to be back. They had to close down for renovations, but we back like cook crack, okay? So happy to be back. And it's actually Juneteenth. I'm supposed to release the episode today because, you know, the episodes are released every Wednesday. But I wanted to wait until I was in the studio to record, you know, to bring you back that premium sound, that premium quality video, and all of the things. So now that we're back in the stew, let's really get into it. So today we're going to be talking about how I feel my Blackness contributes to my creativity. But before we get into that, because that's going to be a real good, juicy conversation, let's get into Dream Gig. And let me remind myself, I need to slow down my speech because sometimes when I be editing, it's hard because, like, I'm speaking so fast and my words are running together. So I'm trying to get better at just, like, speaking at, like, a slower rate so I can get my words out, for one, so you can understand what I'm saying, but also so it's easier for me on the back end when I'm editing, because when I tell you I be irritated, y'all, I be irritated. But okay, so let's get into Dream Gig. And my Dream Gig this week is that I want to start exhibiting some of my art ideas in museums. So I want to exhibit my childhood bedroom that I grew up in, because I just feel like it really shaped me into the person that I am today. Being a Black queer kid growing up in the South with all of the homophobia and just, it was a lot, y'all. So my childhood bedroom was just like my safe haven. And I had a wall of posters dedicated to different celebrities. So my biggest wall in my room was dedicated to Britney Spears. And then my second biggest wall was dedicated to Destiny's Child. It had a little bit of Solange in there too. And then, like, my smallest wall was dedicated to Black, the group Black, the boom like in 808. Okay, those are my girls. So just being in there, it just really felt like kind of like a museum in itself. And I didn't even know, now that I think about it, like, I was literally creating my own pop culture type of museum. But when I was in my childhood bedroom, I just felt very safe. I felt like I can be myself. Even as a child, I knew what homophobia was. Well, I didn't know exactly what it was, but I knew how it felt. And I knew that if I was just like my full self, I would either get in trouble for it or just it would be some negative connotation behind it. And I was the Black queer kid who, I've never been the one to hide who I was, but I did know how to tone it down. But in my room, like, I could learn all the Britney Spears choreography, learn all Destiny's Child runs. Like, I really just close my door, lock it, and just get into my zone of being who I want to be and just imagining and, like, watching TRL and dreaming of living in New York. And now I'm living in New York, and, like, a lot of things that I dreamed in my childhood bedroom is actually a reality now. I would love to put together an art exhibit that recreates my childhood bedroom and just talk about how it signified me and who I am and how it molded and shaped me as a person. So I think that's something that will come to pass. I'm going to manifest it right now, and I want to start getting to work on that because I'm a 360 creative. It's not I want to be, I am a 360 creative. So yes, I love fashion. Yes, I love art. Yes, I love interior decor. Like, I just love so many things, and I want to be able to experience and dabble in all of it. So that's my Dream Gig this week. And we'll be right back to answer your creative community questions after this quick break. So Creative Community is a new segment that we have here where you, the listeners, send in questions about anything related to the creative process or just any questions that you may want to know from the host or the guest that we're having on that week. So you can send those questions through our IG at the Creative Pod. You can DM us or put it in our comments, or you can email the questions to us at thecreativecreativepod@gmail.com, and we'll be sure to answer those on the show. If you decide to email us, be sure to put Creative Community in the subject so we know exactly what you're emailing us for. So this week, we got a question, and I think it's a really good one. So this week, the question is, what do you do to overcome a hurdle in your creative process? And there's really no right answer to this, but I'm going to speak on what I do. So I just released my first project from my Mars Orbit Universe brand, the Humanitarian Project, which is based around Princess Diana. And I had so many hurdles with releasing this project. And one of the ones that really sticks out to me is that I put together this photo shoot to go with the project, to go with the release of the project. And I had it all together. I had put the mood board together, ordered all of the lingerie and the nails, and even went to the beauty supply, got blonde wigs because the theme of the shoot was going to be basically Ronnie from Players Club going to grab tea in the city, but it was gonna have like, you know, that Ronnie's from Player Club blind updo, but it was also she was also gonna have on Princess Diana's crown, and she was gonna have on the long curved nails that have like the Mars orbit on the nails. I still have those nails, so I'll use them for something else. And it was just gonna be like very Marie Antoinette, but the hood version, going to get tea in the city. And I found my model, found the photographer, found people to help me behind the scenes, and it seemed like every time it was time to do the photo shoot, it would either get pushed back. Every time I would get ready to, like, because the day before I would go to, it's called Prince Tea House. That's where we were going to do the photo shoot at. I would go check in with Prince Tea House because they don't do reservations. So I would just check in and be like, well, you know, if we come in at this particular time, can we, you know, get the spot that I need? And so I would do a lot of running around the day before. And then the day would come to the photo shoot, and either the photographer would cancel, or the model would cancel, or something would just happen. And I was the only one always ready. And it got to a point where it's just kind of like I ran out of money, and I couldn't push it back anymore, because when you push back projects, you lose money. And I just had to get to a point where it's like I have to release it. And that hurdle is just like, I feel like hurdles are put in place, not purposely, but I just feel like once you reach one, it kind of like steers you in a different direction, which usually ends up being a good thing, because now the project is out and I had to go about it a totally different way, but it's out now. And I didn't let that hurdle of the photo shoot not happening stop me. It's still a vision that I have. It's still something that I eventually want to execute. And maybe I can do it in a different way with a different launch or a different product, or just a different art realm in general, which I can do. But don't let the hurdle stop you. Just try to find ways around getting to your end goal. Because what I have learned and continue to learn as a creative every day is that you can have everything planned out a certain way, but it doesn't mean that that's how it's going to end up. And it doesn't mean that that's the correct way to go about it. There's no rules here. Do what you want, make it up as you go, and reach your end goal. So again, thanks for sending in your questions. Please continue to send them in, because creative community is for you, the listeners, and also for me. Like, I want to know what you guys are interested in, like, talking about. Sometimes I may even make like a whole show around your particular question. So send them in and let me know. Now, let's get into the meat and the potatoes of the show. And today's show is going to be talking about how my Blackness contributes to my creativity. And I just feel like my Blackness, like, I'm so deep in it now that it just really dictates everything else that I do. So, and it's been a journey getting here, because I went to a predominantly white high school, and white was right, child. Like, it just was. So I just kind of gravitated towards that, like, you know, being the tokenism, being like the only black person in the AP classes, and being the only black person on the swim team. Like, I kind of like settled in that. And it's just kind of like I would always get to a point where they would quickly remind you, like, oh, you're the only one here, but you're still not one of us, okay? And it wasn't until, I never forget this, I was on the swim team. I was like the only black person on the swim team. And we went to out of town swim meet, right? And we were on the bus, and I'll never forget her name either. Her name was Emily. And I didn't know me and Emily had no shade, no beef, no none of that. Now that I'm older, Emily was just a racist, but let me get into it. So she made like cute little cards, like good luck cards to everybody for their matches for the swim meet. And she made everybody on the bus one, but did not make me one. And when I tell y'all, that really hurt my feelings because I just knew I was like part of the family. But it also goes back to like, my parents taught me a long time ago that, you know, you tolerate white folks, but trusting them is a whole nother thing, okay? Like, you have to be very careful about that. When I was younger, my mom set me down, turned Rosewood on, baby, and we got into it. And I had so many nightmares that night, and it just it changed my mindset just about white people and black people and our place in the world. And that has again dictated what I do now in my life and how I walk now, and then going to a HBCU and being immersed in blackness, like my blackness just kept getting elevated and elevated and elevated. And now I'm at a place where it's just kind of like it's blackness before anything else, okay? And I mean that because when I look into society and look in the real world, it is blackness that dictates the trends. It is blackness that dictates what is top of the top when it comes to different realms of creativity, whether society wants to admit it or not. But we know the truth. Like, we know when we log into TikTok that it's the black folks that are making us kiki. Like, we know that. And we know that it's the white creators or the people that are not black that are taking those ideas and stealing them and like making them go to another level because they have the bigger followings. But I done lost my train of thought. Oh, but yeah, so when that happened to me in high school, it just really like it wrecked me for a second, but then it was just kind of like once I got over it, I kind of realized that it's your blackness that is your power, and I use that to drive me creatively. And one way I use it to drive me creatively is being resourceful. I just feel that being a black person, especially a black person in America, us being resourceful, it just comes naturally to us because I feel like our ancestors, like using chitlins for example, like they would cook for the slave masters and the slave masters would leave the scraps for them and they would make meals out of them. That's where like chitlins came from. I just feel like we're just very resourceful people and it always ends up being something that wants to be taken from us when you didn't want to give it to us in the first place. Even like seasoning our food and things like that. Like if you look back on history, like black folks would season our food and use seasonings and you know took it very seriously and still takes it very seriously, but other people kind of shunned that and looked down on it, and now like ain't nobody cooking without no seasoning, you know what I mean? Even fashion, like a lot of the fashion that you look at in black history, like it was made out of necessity. Using Destiny's Child for an example, like the girls were not dressing them Dior and Louis Vuitton and Gucci, like they were not dressing Destiny's Child at first. So Miss Tina and Uncle Johnny had to get in the stew and make the fits. But those are some of Destiny's Child most iconic fits, but it came out of being resourceful. Like Tina could have very well went to the store and bought things, which sometimes she did, but you know what I mean? She really had to use her imagination and use what she know about her upbringing and being Tina growing up being a seamstress and around her mother who was a seamstress. Like she really had to bring all that knowledge back and make sure the girls were set. And even her grandma being Tina's mom being a seamstress, it was out of necessity. I look at just different eras of blackness and everything that made an impact was because we were resourceful. So when I'm creating, I try to keep that same energy. Like I'm creating things that are in my brain that are unique to me, unique to my experience in the world. And executing these ideas, I don't come from money. I don't have tons of money. I don't have any money actually. And I have to be resourceful to still bring my ideas to fruition. So that's one way how my blackness just kind of seeps in, like from the very get go of bringing my creativity, my ideas to life. And I think what also aids in my creativity as a black person is that I knew from the get go, like I said, my mom set me down and showed me Rosewood and, you know, just told me different things. But very early on, and I'm sure a lot of you also have heard this, like, we have to be twice as good to get a little bit of what they're getting, of what everyone else is getting. And you kind of live your life in that way. And it just kind of sets you apart. And it allows me to know now that I'm, grown and have done this my entire life. Like, I know I'm better because I've worked harder to get the little bit that I got. And I see other people doing a tenth of what I do and get so much. So I use that to, pump my head up like, you're twice as good because you've worked twice as hard. So you can bring your ideas to life. Like, don't let society tell you that you're thinking too big or your idea is just too elevated. No, bitch. I can do it because I've been doing it. And I'm going to do it well, and I'm going to do it better than you because that's how I was raised, and that's just how I've been living my life for so long. So that just comes natural to me. Also, inspiration. I'm inspired by Black creatives, like from the past and from the present. Like, James Baldwin is somebody I carry with me every day. Just the way that he looked at society, just how brave and unapologetic he was to take up space as a Black queer person. Like, I value that, and I try to keep that same energy as I move through the world. My grandmother, a Black woman who was a maid, because that's the only job that she could have. She was a maid, but I didn't learn it till after my grandma passed away, because I only know my grandma as this fabulous woman who had her own house, got glammed in her bathroom, okay? My grandma's bathroom was not even, it was so small, but when I tell you she had her fashion fair out on the counter, her clip-on earrings, her closet full of tailored clothing, like, she really made a way for herself, and I just saw her as this glamorous person, and I take that with me today. Like, there may be times where I don't have it all, but I'm gonna be looking like I got something, okay? I'm gonna be looking presentable and feeling presentable too, because it's really like fake it till you make it. It's really giving delusional, and I feel like looking at all of the things that my grandma acquired while she was living, she had to be delusional to go from only working as a maid to having her own house. So my grandma had 10 kids, 10, okay? And they all prospered, and she took care of everybody. Like, she just really had to be delusional to, like, make shit happen, and I carried that with me as a Black creative. Khalees is somebody that is just, she is different from the rest, and it naturally comes to her. Like, I know it had to be crazy for her to, like, step into the music industry and look the way that she looked and present the way that she presented and the type of music and sound that she wanted to put into the world. But it was unique to her, and it touched her tribe of people. Like, Khalees is just one of those people who I just look to for fashion and just individuality and uniqueness. And I look at how it has carried her. Even today, Khalees is just that girl. You can see her on so many people's mood boards. You can see her, you can hear her sound in some of these people's music. And that's how I kind of like, even me creating fashion content, my fashion content does not get the views that a lot of other people's fashion content gets. But I understand that I'm a niche creator. I understand that I have a unique point of view that everyone is not going to get or gravitate towards. And I also understand that that's what sets me apart. That's what's important. And Khalees instills that in me. Andre Leon Talley, another Black creative who was in a space by himself as the only Black queer person in the fashion space at that time, and knew more than Anna Wintour, knew more than everybody about fashion, and set himself apart in that way. And I carry that with me as far as like my research and actually making sure that I know what I'm talking about, and making sure that when I research and want to like put things into the world, that I'm very intentional about it. Because if I want to have an impact, you want people to be able to come back and look over your work. You want people to be able to come back and be inspired by you, so, and carry the torch on to, like, you want your work to be able to live even when you're not living anymore. So when people look back on your work, you want to make sure that things are in place that inspire others to carry the torch and take it somewhere else. And Solange is also another creative who, she takes up space in places where Black people are usually shunned from. when she did the New York Ballet, composing the New York Ballet as a black woman, like she's taking up space. And as a black creative, I want to take up space because I know society wants me to not do so. Like I know society wants me to be afraid to show up the way that white people show up in the world. And no, Solange will kick a door down. Okay, Mama is at, what was that museum she was at? She was performing FUBU, and it was white people on the front row. Solange is walking by their ass. This shit is for us, okay? All my niggas in the whole wide world, and stopping at every black person that she see. That is inspirational to me, and that's what I carry as a black creative. It's just kind of like, I may not be for everybody, but I know my tribe, and I'm gonna make sure that they're seen and heard, and that I represent them in the best way possible. So in light of Juneteenth and just celebrating who I am as a creator and getting into my blackness and remembering what my ancestors fought for and why I'm standing here, that allows me to know that nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible. It's a lot of work, yes. But as a black creative, I'm here to do it. And gonna continue to do it and gonna keep doing it. And you're gonna get it again and again and again. Okay? This is gonna be a little short episode today because I have to go to Topical's Juneteenth party. It starts at 5, but I'm in Manhattan. It's in Brooklyn, so I'm gonna have to scooch on over there, have me a little drink on the hotel rooftop. You know what I mean? And I love Topical, so I'm always happy when they invite me to something or send me a PR package. And Topicals, if you want to sponsor this show, I can do a cute little, commercial little 1, 2, 3. But to celebrate a black brand on Juneteenth, I think that's very special. Last year, I celebrated with Brendan Blackwood, another black brand, and it was a blast. So I'm always down to show up for my people and, congregate and network. And I'm really trying to get better at networking, y'all. I can be so awkward meeting new people, and I'm trying to just get over that and get out of my bubble, because in this particular space that I'm in right now, I'm meeting so many new people, and these are all people that I need to know. So I want to leave like a good impression, and I don't want to be as shy. So I just want to step out and put myself out there a little more, serve pussy, serve cunt. You know what I mean? Yes. I love this acne scarf, y'all. I cannot get enough of her. And it's hot as fuck in New York today, so I was like, let me throw this on, catch a little sweat. But as we say at the end of every show, leave here empty. You cannot take your gifts with you when you're no longer here. So use those gifts, make that art, create those projects, release that work, because you can do it. We all can do it. All creative episodes are typically released every Wednesday, and on YouTube every Thursday. Again, it's Wednesday today, so I'm currently recording. So if I get back from the Topicals party, and because I brought my laptop with me, if I get back and it's not too much to edit and get everything done, I'll have it out by Thursday morning. If not, it'll be out Friday, but I'm gonna try to have it out on Thursday. And yeah, thank you all for listening. Thank you all for contributing to this podcast in any way that you do. We are on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, and we're on YouTube. And I shall see you next week. Bye.